Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about dependency injection. And every time you hear dependency injection, it sounds something difficult to learn or to understand, right? It's not difficult at all. In fact, we have been using dependencies since we started programming. Let's look at this image. This image says A uses some methods of B. So if you want to use some methods of B, what you do, you create a reference of B in A and start using B's method in A. That's dependency, right? The difference in dependency injection will inject B in A, so we do not have to initialize B in A. Let's look at, so what I've done here is I've created a demo to explain this. In this, the demo is pretty simple. I'm listing down some authors here and some IDs. And when I click on this ID, it goes to author detail. It shows their name, author's name, their phone number, and the city that they live in. Okay, that's pretty simple. So it has two pages. One is authors and other is author detail. Let's look at the code. So when I go in code, you can see that I'm initializing the service here on initialized. And to fill up author list, which I'm looping through HTML, I'm calling get authors function and then filling up authors in this author list. And for author detail, I'm doing the same thing. I'm initializing author service here. And to get the author detail here, I'm calling get author by ID and passing the author ID and getting the author on the page. Let's look at this service. What's written in this service? In this service, I am implementing iAuthor service, and it has function get authors to get the authors, and then it has function get author by ID to get the author when you move to author detail page. And on top of that, it has functions for called as get created date and get version. And in get created, what I'm doing is I'm initializing this created property every time I'm initializing the author service. Let's go back. So if I click on author page here, when I go to authors, it sets the time as 1:36:44. And when I go to a different page, it changes the time. That means the author service gets initialized every time I move to a different component. But what if I do not want to initialize service every time if I want to go to a different component, or if I don't want to initialize service in any of the components? I just want to initialize the service once and use that reference everywhere in all the components throughout the application. How do I do that? That's when dependency injection comes into play. So if you want to use dependency injection in your application, what you do is you tell your Blazor application, hey Blazor application, I have a service to inject here. I'm going to add a service here. It's a transient service and it's of type author service, and the implementation is written in this class. Okay, the transient part, I will explain this later. This defines the lifetime of the service. And if so, now that we have added the service into our startup page, let's inject the service into our pages. So what I'll do here is I'll say inject iAuthor service, and let's use the same object here. And then we do not need to initialize the service. And let's do the same thing in author detail. Once you do that, once you inject your service, you do not need to initialize the service. Cool. Let's run this and see if this works. So when I go to authors page, it's pulling all the authors. When I go to a different page, you can see the phone number and the name is getting populated. And if I move to different components, you can see the time is changing. The time changes by 1 or 2 seconds. Right? The reason why the time is changing is because we set our service as transient. That means every time you move to a different component, this transient service will create an instance of your service. But what if I do not want to create instance of the service on each and every component? I want to use a single object, a single reference throughout the application and use some and save some memory. To do that, what you do is you can set the lifetime of your reference when you add the service. I'm going to say that it's a singleton service. That means I want to create only one instance of the service and use it throughout all the components. Let's run this and see how it looks like. So when I go to authors page, you can see that it's initialized at 1:40:07. And when I go to a different page, the time does not change. The time does not change. That means even if I refresh the page, the time does not change. That means your application will create only one object of service and it'll give it to the application, and you'll use that object throughout the components, throughout all the components in the application. Cool. There is one more type of lifetime that you can set for your reference. It's called as scoped. Scoped is almost same as singleton. The only difference is when you refresh the page, that's when it initializes. See, it's initializing at 1:40:54. If I go to a different component, you can see that the time does not change, right? But when I refresh the page, that's where it initializes to a new reference of the object. Okay. So what else is there? I'm going to change this back to singleton. Okay. So what else is there in dependency injection? Let's say this author service, my team is working on the newer version of author service. They're saying that we are working a cooler version of author service. And the name of that service is author service. Author service underscore v2. It's version 2. See, it could be your team, or it could be a third-party company who's working on the service, and they're coming to you and telling you that, okay, we have made a updated version of the service, and we would like you to use it. So go ahead and use it. And this author service 2 is almost like author service. The only difference is we are formatting the author name and we are formatting their phone number. I'll make those changes here. So when we get authors, what we're doing here, I'm gonna copy some code here. I'm gonna say when I get authors, I'm gonna lowercase the first name and last name, and the phone number, wherever you see space in the phone number, I would like to add dash. Now go ahead and use this service. The only difference that I have to make is go in my startup page, in my startup class, and say that, okay, I don't want to use the older version of the service. I would like to use the newer version of the service. And I would like to make one more change here. I would like to say that it's newer version. It's version 2 of the service. And I do not have to make any change into author detail and authors. That saves so much code review, testing, deploying. It saves so much effort. If I had 400 pages in my application, I wouldn't need to go in each and every page and change and reinitialize my author service. That's what's awesome about dependency injection. Let's run this and see if this works. So if I go to author service, you can see that now we are using version 2. The name has become smaller case. And when I click on the link, you can see dash in my phone number, and you can see that it's version 2 now. And if I wanna go back, if I see that, okay, the version 2 is not ready, I will go back and say that, okay, my bad, the version 2 is not ready. We would like to go back to a stable version. Maybe I'll have to clean my build again. Yeah, we would like to go to a stable version of the service. And there you go, version 1. It's back to same formatting. That's what's awesome about dependency injection, and that's why I'm super excited about exploring it. If you have any questions, put it in the comment section. This is Fahad. Thanks for watching the video.